If you make it a rule not to sit down to write before you know what you're going to write, then you'll never waste any time and you'll never have writer's block.
If you don't sit down to write until you have ideas to write, then you won't waste any time and you'll never have writer's block. That's an interesting concept. I'm like to see where he goes with this. Just because when I think about this, if I don't sit down and give myself time to write, especially when I don't have ideas, then usually it gets to a snowball effect, at least for me. I don't know if that works for others. But usually for me is it gets to like a snowball effect where all of a sudden I have no ideas for like 2 months, 3 months, 6 months to a year, you know? So I like to see where he goes with this, but I honestly don't agree with that part. Like, wait until you have ideas and then that's when you sit down to write. Like, yes, technically you won't have writer's block because you're kind of like waiting for inspiration to come first before you sit down and write. But truthfully, I don't know, this is the time frame of it being like it could take 3 months, 6 months, like it could take a long time, you know, like some people it could take 10 years for an idea to come through. So let's see where he goes with this.
So simply don't sit down until you know what you're going to write.
Simply don't sit down until you know what you're going to write. Yeah, let's see.
So it's better to be walking along the beach thinking about the structure of your story.
It's better to be walking along the beach thinking about the structure of your story. So essentially what he's trying to say is, so like instead of sitting on your desk and thinking about the story, it's better to do other things while thinking about the story. The only problem I have with that is the fact that you don't have like all the details in front of you, like your outline, your character profile, like everything in front of you. So it's like the ideas that you already have, right? It's hard to kind of like come up with your next scenes or your next big idea sometimes when you don't have everything in front of you. And the thing is, I'm assuming he's just talking about like activities that don't take much brain power or that is meditative, such as like walking around the beach or just taking a walk in general, or maybe while you're taking a shower, you know, things like that. Like things that don't use your brain, so it could like occupy your brain with your story. I could see where that could work. Like I literally have a video called like the reason why you have writer's block is because you don't go outside. I think I changed the title to something else, but essentially that's what the video is about. So let's continue. Let's see what else he has to say.
Then it is to be wasting a lot of time sitting in front of the computer typing stuff and throwing it away and all that stuff. Just figure it all out in your head. And well, what if I forget it? Well, guess what? If you forget it, that's probably good.
If you forget it, it's probably good. I could see where that could be the case, but it's like you wrote the idea down for a reason. And sometimes you had a solution for something, because this happened to me before when I was working with a client. Is like when we worked on a book series, we had ideas that we completely forgot about just because we didn't write it down at the time and we were just discussing it. Because of that, we kind of got stuck with the same parts over and over again just because we didn't keep track of our ideas. And sometimes we relied on our memories just to make progress with the story. So it's hard to say that forgetting ideas could be a good thing just because of that reason. Like, of course, I see where he's trying to say where, oh, well, if you've forgotten the idea, then it's probably an idea that you didn't really felt necessary for the story. Like it wasn't resonating with you as much as you thought it did. But trying to figure it out all in your head is very complex as well, because that could also lead to overthinking, perfectionism. Like it could lead to a lot of things that tends to happen when I at least try to figure everything out in my head and not just like write everything down in paper first without judgment. Like that's the reason why I think brain dump works so well. Writing out ideas, essentially whatever idea that comes to mind, whether you think it's good or bad, just writing it out just to get into the groove of writing. You know, I think that's why that's important. Interesting stuff, but I feel like it could work for some people and not for others. It really depends what type of writer you are. I know for myself, I definitely would have to pay attention to the details of my story, and I have to just get in the groove of writing, because like I said earlier, the snowball effect could really, really haunt you. Like it go good or bad. Like in the bad side of things, it could be when you not writing for like 2 weeks or for a month. All of a sudden, you lose the habit of writing, and then it takes you like years to even finish your story. So essentially, I think it really depends, because there are also times where I figure out something in my head or haven't really figured out a piece of plot until I stepped away and take a walk. So honestly, I think it's really about just trying out different methods and see what works for you. Or maybe you just try one method that's been working for a while, and then what you do is it stops working for a bit, and then that's when you try other methods like this. Like if you are very consistent in writing, and recently you realize in your writing session you just been like staring at the screen and not really writing much ideas, or maybe the ideas you're writing down is not resonating with you as much, maybe that's when you could take this advice where he's like, you know what, maybe you just need to take a step back, relax a little bit, maybe take a walk outside or whatever, and then think of your ideas outside of your desk and your computer, and maybe that could help for you. So yeah, that's my thoughts so far with what he just said just now.
You're forgetting forgettable things. You won't forget it when it starts getting really good, because then it'll do what Faulkner said, it'll start haunting you, and you won't be able to forget it. And then you'll just write it down. So if you're productive, you've already figured out that there are certain things that are completely unproductive, such as sitting in front of a blank screen trying to figure out what to put down next, and other ways to do things that make you productive.
Yeah, I just think there's just simply different ways to handle creativity in your process. Like it's really just all about figuring out your own process. I could definitely see a case where the way people figure out their stories is by staying away from their desk as much as possible. Like that is possible, certainly. And I think literally, I forgot which video it was, but one of my key advice was going with the flow. Like just go whatever your brain leads you to. So if you're thinking about chapter 10, but like currently in the story at chapter 5, write out your ideas for chapter 10 and then work backwards or even forward, however you feel. Like I always be saying in almost every video, I think at this point, there's no rules when it comes to writing out your story, drafting, editing, things like that. Like you just have to remember that not much people or maybe nobody's gonna really see your story until like the final product. So you could honestly do whatever you want to your story. Whatever gets the job done, you could honestly do whatever. And it's really just all about finding your own method and completing your story and what works for you, essentially. So what he's saying, obviously I don't 100% agree with everything he's saying, but of course that's the method that works for him. And that's really what it's all about. If it works for you, go with that method. If not, try something else. There's multiple ways to come up with ideas and write out your story. So I just wanted to explore his methods, his ideas, and what he thinks about writing out stories and creativity in general. So yeah.
You need to say, I am going to work from 7 to 8 every morning, without fail, for 5 days a week. It's better than 7 days a week, because your brain revolts when you make it stop something that it's actually enjoying. So if you make it stop after the 5th day, it's very upset, and it spends the whole weekend thinking about the project, and it's really raring to go on Monday when you start again.
All right, after watching this part, I'm a little confused, just because the whole part of the earlier parts I was explaining about was so that you don't like waste time sitting at your desk, and you wait until basically inspiration comes before you sit down and write out your story, essentially. But now, after seeing him talking about like routine and following a 5-day routine from 7 to 8, is like I don't know, that part is just a little confusing to me, because like, well, essentially you kind of are telling people to like sit down and write from 7 to 8 consistently every day, and when you try to do that, there's gonna be a day where you're just gonna be staring at a screen right? Like that's just gonna happen. Like it's almost inevitable, honestly. So I'm a little bit lost on that part. Maybe he's talking afterwards, like after you find, maybe it's after you figure out your inspiration, like your ideas, and you kind of know what you want to write essentially. That's when you follow that blueprint. And maybe the beginning part is really essentially is about when you're first coming up with your ideas and your story in general. Could be, possibly. But that part right there kind of lost me a little bit. But yeah, I just want to share my thoughts on Dr. Ken's like productivity tips and writing and creativity in general. And basically explore like ways to get more productive or get creative. Like there's always a new way, or just infinite ways honestly of getting things done, especially when it comes to the creative process. So it's always great to explore these ideas and methods that people found out and see what they think is essential for them to do it, and see if you could add it to your own process when it comes to creativity as well. But yeah, you let me know your thoughts on this video. You let me know how you feel about his method, how you feel about my thoughts on his method. Have you ever tried his method before? Let me know what's your creativity process. Let me know your process in doing that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. You could click somewhere here. I think it's gonna be around this way, right? There's gonna be a video there showcasing and explaining my consultation calls when it comes to helping you brainstorm ideas and complete your story outline. So if you're interested in that, just click on the video somewhere over there. And yeah, like I always say, if the idea resonates with you, I think he kind of agrees with this point as well. Write it down. It'll probably stick in your head. You probably won't forget. So obviously something that should be part of your story. So yeah, thank you for watching. Have a great day.